the salt. She throws on the fire. He did not throw them. He didn't take out the neck. Didn't take out the feather for the bnei for the inside. He didn't put it into salt. Called shishiro and shemitza dom kshero. After doing mitzvah and squeezing on the mizbeach, so then there is no. Then anything else is not me'akev. Hivdil bechatos v'lo hivdil boilo. If we learned before that by chatos you cut only one siman, not two siman, and by oilo you get two. If you did the opposite, he did have a dolo by chatos cutting two siman, and by oilo he didn't possible. That's possible. It has to be, as we'll see in the Gemara today, the daf. The chat has to be different than the oilo. You have to show that it's different. If I'm doing maise oilo bechatos, so that's possible. Mitzvah's dam aroy shaloi mitzvah dam aguf. You squeeze the head into the mizbeach and not the body. Psulo. It needs to be the body. Mitzvah dam aguf. Mitzvah dam arosh kshero. You're not me'akev to do the mitzvah from the rosh, has to be from the body. Now we're going into really the we learned earlier regarding korbanos. We're doing here by birds regarding the machshavas. Chatasoiv shemol ko shloi lishmo. He didn't milika shloi lishmo. Mitzvah dam shloi lishmo. Or he did the mitzvah shloi lishmo by squeezing the blood on the mizbeach. Lishmo v'shloi lishmo. Or part of it was lishmo, part of it was lishmo. Or shloi lishmo v'lishmo psulo. Most cases possible. Why? Because it's not chatos. By chatos you have to have lishmo. By not, that's the beginning of the Masechta. But as we saw in the first Mishnah of the Masechta, it is kosher, but it's not good enough for the Bible. It's not oil the Bible. Meaning, cut it. I mean, he did the miliki, he cut the body. Shemitza is domon, and he squeezed it. Lechol dovashtarko lechol. Ulakti dovashtarko lakti. And he had in mind to eat what you could eat and do a k'tor for what you could be maktir. And all that was chutza b'koimoi, to do it outside of the right place. Possible ve'im b'koiris. It's possible. There's no curse. Because chutza b'koimoi is not pigul. But chutza zmano, he has in mind here a different day. Pigul chavim will have koris. Then it's koris. It's pigul. Meaning, what is akriv matik mitzvos? We saw by korban. It has to be everything else done properly. It has to be mehadrin. And that's the only issue. Explain the Mishnah. And this is really very, very similar to what we saw with Karbanis. The Gemara is not even addressed this Mishnah, because this Mishnah was addressed by Karbanis. Ketzad korban matik mitzvosoi. Molag b'shtik. He did miliko without saying a word. Umitzo adam chutz zmanoi. Did mitzui out of the zman. He did part of that voido with pigul. Oy shemolak chutz zmanoi. Umitzo adam b'shtiko, or the opposite. Oy shemolak umitzadam chutz zmanoi. We did both chutz zmanoi. Zeu shekor matik mitzvos. Meaning everything that was done incorrectly was with machshavas pikul. There was nothing done with another psul. But Ketzad lo korban matik mitzvos. What does it mean? It's not korban mitzvos. Malach chutz b'koimoi. He didn't milika chutz b'koimoi. Not pigul. Out of its place. Umitzadam chutz zmanoi, but he did the mitzui chutz zman. Or shemolach chutz zmanoi mitzadam chutz b'koimoi. Or opposite. So one of the avoid is doing with another machshava not pigul. Or shemolach mitzadam chutz b'koimoi. He did both chutz b'koimoi. Sabechei amudalef. Chatas or shemolach shol ishmo umitzadam chutz zmanoi. You have chatas oif. And chatas oif he didn't miliko shol ishmo. And he did mitzui adam chutz zmanoi. So he has pigul. He has also another psul of shol ishmo. Or shemolach chutz zmanoi mitzadam shol ishmo. Or the opposite. Or shemolach mitzadam shol ishmo. It's both shol ishmo. So sheiloi korban matik mitzvos, because you have other issues except the miliko. Yeah. Lechol kazayis b'chutz kazayis l'mocher. If he has in mind to do kazayis b'chutz, so that's again even the same avodah. Kazayis b'chutz is b'chutz l'koyim, and then l'mocher which means chutz zmanoi. Or the opposite, kazayis l'mocher kazayis l'chutz. Or kechatzi zayis b'chutz chatzi zayis l'mocher. Or kechatzi zayis l'mocher chatzi zayis b'chutz. Possible ve'im b'kars. Why? Because we have your chutz zmanoi l'koyim. And my view though the same issue we spoke about korbanos earlier. If in the same Gemara discussion the same avodah or not, but let's say the same avodah, if you start with the machshava of pigul, and then you do chutz v'kamo, you go based on the first machshava. And you made it pigul. Machshava samoka kol machshava zman posel ve'im b'koris. The chayim oimim zeh v'zeh posel ve'im b'koris. The chayim argue that's like tanakama, and that's all that we saw before. And the Mishnah concludes also similar to what we said before. La'ayachol chatzi gazais u'le'akti kachatzi zais. He has half a gazais eating, half a gazais aktoro. Kasher shein achil v'aktor mitztarfim. You can't have achil and aktor come together. So the end of the Mishnah is really what we just saw today, what we saw now, is really a repetition of what we saw by Karbanis, but applying it to birds. It says that we're not going to bring a series of drushes to tell me everything that we learned right now. Torah want to be krivo mato with loima. It says be krivoy. He's giving makriv the bird. Why do you have to say be krivoy? So Rashi explains. It says before that be kriv minat Torah. I should say right afterwards. Why does it say? Why does it say be krivo? So he says the fish in him, mato the fish in him, be kriv minat Torah b'nei yoino. Someone is going to bring Torah b'nei yoino a donation to the Beis Hamikdash. Could it be that someone who brings birds has to bring two? Because it says Toirim in b'nei yoino, plural. Person can bring even one bird. You can donate one bird. What is Elam Mizbech? Sorry. What does the word Kohen tell you? It needs to be a Kohen. Well, what do you think otherwise? If it's an animal, it's to be in the north of the Mizbeach. But you don't need to have a Kohen. Why not? When don't you need to have a Kohen? Shchituk Sher Bazar. You don't have to have the Shchituk can be done by Azar. Oiv Shalei Kovel Tzov. When I don't have to be in the north. Ein Udin Shalei Kval the Kohen. Then what? That Azar should be able to shech to do Miliko. Tomad Loima El Kohen the Kvar El Kohen. Has to be a Kohen. Could it be that you will cut the bird with a knife? How do you cut a bird? You know, with a nail, the thumbnail. So he said, maybe you should do a knife. Shchita, you don't have to do with a kohen, but you have to have a kli. This is Taisus brought earlier. They see from here. There's a mitzvah b'kli. Shaila is the mitzvah b'kli sharis. This is Kosh Taisus. Miliko shekovala kohen and shikvala kli. Miliko, you need a kohen, you need a kli. Tomad loima kohen u'molak. The kohen does the miliko. Gufa shekohen.
Why is that not a kli? Miliko has to be done. You have to cut the simanim. Before that, you have a sharp reed or something.
It's also kli. It's because you be a kli. Taisus discussed if they be kli sharis or not. It's a discussion. Taisus. So here the discussion of Rishonim, the Rashi learns that Omar Akiva is not arguing. To explain what we just said. Even though it sounds a little different, but it's coming just to explain what we meant. Shita Mekubetza says no. Omar Akiva here is coming to argue. Where exactly are we doing the oila? On the Mizbech. Azar can't go on the Mizbech. So I don't have to tell you Azar can't do it because he can't do it on the Mizbech. So according to Rashi, he's explaining. I said Kohen Umalak, meaning how do you see from here? Because obviously it's a Kohen, can't be Azar. So Kohen Umalak is a Chiddush Torah. Be'atu Shokohen has to be with his finger and now with a knife. Yes, that's Toises Le'el that the Zar is allowed to go on the Tzafoin. I can't see it. I have to move the stand over here.
It's not like the Ragway. It's not like where the
right. That on that Toises says Toises wants to bring it right. No, it's this stand there. This stand there. Move this stand. Shkeach.
So try using it now to do a sheep.
The what? No, now you can't the sheep. But it's the north. It says that the Toises brings it. I can't see. I can't see it here. It's like a little. You have to do a little more to the middle. Anyway. Shkeach. That. So that he says Toises lands large Toises two. The Toises in I think the Toises in the Samach Gimel. Toises brings over there that Tzafoin can be done. The Zar can go in the entire Tzafoin. Maybe it's a mile there, but not. Maybe.
Not anywhere else in the Azara. He can't go anywhere else in the Azara.
Meaning?
I'm saying other parts of the Azara, he's not. The Azara can't go.
He says he could do. Oh, yeah.
No, I think it's just itself.
He brings.
For sure, he can't go. That's what he's proving. That's his.
Yeah. He says, "I feel let me stab her." That's Loshe Toises. She is zar also but soften connected him his mech. If there's an issue, it's a midarabon. What it's not to do. If you don't have an issue, bad on the mizbech, you do have an issue. Says the Gemara, "Yecholim lakenu ben lamal ben lamato ben milika could be up or down on the mizbech." Says the Gemara, "To loymar molak v'hiktir." Ma'aktar b'rosh mizbech. Aktar means you put in the fire. You have to do it on top of the mizbech. Have milika b'rosh mizbech on top of the mizbech. Says the Gemara, "Umolak mimul oyrif." Mimul oyrif means the reason it's called mimul oyrif. It's very interesting. It took me a few years to figure out that's what it means, because oyrif is the back of the head. The mul oyrif is the neck which faces the back of the head. So you would think mimul oyrif, the reason Hebrew oyrif is the back, so mul oyrif you think is the front. It says no, oyrif is not the entire back. Oyrif is the back of the head. So mimul oyrif is what's across from the oyrif, which means the neck. So it says, maybe it means in front. It says miliko over here. It says miliko when it says by chatos. This is molak is roisha mimul arpor. This is clearly mimul arpor. What it says. Malo mimul arpor. Afkan mimul arpor. If you learn one from each other. Malo mimul geinu mavdi. Afkan mimul geinu mavdi. I mean, you learn from chatos. So then you do miliko. You don't cut into two. You don't cut the both simani. Cut only one. So maybe here the same thing. Ba'aktar, you split the head from the body, and you do the head and the body each one on its own. So miliko, you split the head from the body. Miliko reish la'atzah guf la'atzah. Uminayin shaktar so reish ba'atzah guf la'atzah. How do you know when you do when you put it in the fire? So you split the head from the body. Shneimar v'iktir oisoi. Haraktar so guf amur. Hamayin v'kayin v'iktir mizbeicho. Why does it iktir twice? In fact, there's a Torah twice. Tell me, you split the head from the body, and he puts the head on the fire, puts the body on the fire. Continues the Gemara with drushes. You squeeze the blood on the kirmizbech. Not on the kevish, not on the wall of the ramp. And now the kirmizbech. And not these ones. The Mishnah added Kira Ulam. Some have the gears over here. It's a little interesting. We never find that you put it on all the walls. Tell you it's the Kira Mizbech. Pays the Zekir Elyon. It has to be in the top part of the Mizbech. Or in the Kira Tachto, maybe it's the bottom part of the Mizbech. Vedino. Ma beimo shechatoso lemal. Oilo solemato. But beimo the chatos is up. But the oilo is down. Or if shechatoso lemato and it did show oilo solemato, maybe the both would be down. It's the opposite of what we said in the previous daf. There we want to learn the both are up. Talmud lo'imar u'molak v'hikter v'nimtza damoy. Miliko, aktor v'nimtza damoy. V'chitala da'it chulachas shehiktir choyzo v'matzeh. Hiktor is you put on the fire. So you do miliko. And then what do? Haktor on the fire. And then you do mitzah damoy. Mitzah damoy means you squeeze the blood out of the body. But it's already on the fire. That's just teaching you. Teach you that it should be the same location. He goes on the ramp. Go makes a right on the soiviv. The Karen Drobis gets to the southeast corner. He does the miliko and in the back in the neck. And he cuts both simonim. And he squeezes the blood and carries back. But he can do it 1 hour below. Why can he do it 1 hour below his legs? Where is he standing, the Kohen we just said now? Where's the Kohen standing? He's standing on the soiviv. Right? Standing on the soiviv. How high is the soiviv from the floor? 6 amo, very good, because you have 1 amo is the soiv. Then you have 5 amo in the next box, and then you have 3 amo. So when you're in the 5 on the top of the second box, you're 6 amo from the floor. Now the mizbeach is how big? 10 amos. The lower 5 is divided in half and half. 5 to the bottom part, and 5 to the top part. So when you're on the soiviv, you're on amo number 6. So you still have one amma below your legs to get to the middle of the mizbeach. That's why you could do it one arm below his legs. Says no, it has to be at the top of the mizbeach. It can't be below his legs. Can you do a maroch give a soifif? Meaning, you have to do the mitzvah, the squeezing of the blood, below an area, that's a Rashi learns, below an area where you have the pile of wood. Where do you have the pile of wood? On the top. So the walls that surround the top, that's what you can do mitzvah. Yechezkel says you can't do below your legs. That's not where the pile is. But Tanakama says you could do it. You know why? Because the pile of wood doesn't have to be on the mizbech. The pile of wood could be on the soifif. He's standing on that small ledge coming out of his mizbech. He could do a marocha there. He could do a marocha there, so you can put the blood below the marocha. That's a Rashi. So many Rishonim, like, and that's what instead in Rashi, they say that the blood of the mitzvah has to be on any place of the wall or the top part above the soifif. But the Ravid and other Rishonim want to say there has to be dafka on the keren, on the horn, to squeeze on the horn. So that's not exactly Rashi. They have to learn the sugya a little differently. Bala guf, then it comes to the body. Torah Bonim be seers. Moirah soy. We said again the moirah is the zefik, is that throat, part of the throat. Ben Eitzoso with its how do you call it in English? Crop. Ben Eitzoso with its feather, which is the fruit with his feather. Zu zefik. That's what you just mentioned. Maybe he's going to cut it with a knife and take it out. Ben Eitzoso. What does it mean? The feather that's surrounding the zefik. He basically takes like a whole piece, the zefik together with the nitro. He takes it, and he takes with it the kurkavan, which is the intestines. In other words, he's taking with it what's connected. He's taking the mi'ayin, the stomach, with it. He basically pulls out that whole part of the body. And that's what noitzaso means. It doesn't mean feather, as Rashi points out. The noitzaso means double mos. Here, Shmuel Tana ben noitzaso with his noitza, meaning the noitza shlo kodju b'saki kamoy noitza shlo kodju b'saki kamoy ubo. He takes the feather, but only the feather around that space, not more. How do you make sure he doesn't take more? He has to cut it with a knife to make sure there's no other piece that goes with that, with the zefik. Continues the one of Zevachim with base. She say Yavlo Yivdil, he cut it but did not divide it and split it completely. Trouble the apostle is Veshisa Oisa B'chnofu. That's where you cut the body. So ain't Shisa Ela B'yad. So with the hands of Chenoim Vesheseo Keshes Hagdi. Who did that? Who cut Shimshon? Shimshon Agibur cut the line with his two bare hands. Cut it to do. Lo Yisiris Abayro. If you didn't do it, what happens with the Yevet? Someone sees like Abloz of Shimon, telling Abloz of Shimon, Shamati Shemavdi B'chata Soif. So we saw in our Mishnah that if you did Havdalah in Chatos, you're not supposed to do Havdalah by Chatos, you have to do Havdalah by Oiv. If you did Havdalah by Chatos, it's possible. That's our Mishnah. So comes Abloz of Shimon says, no, you can do Havdalah with Chatos. You go and cut both Simon. My Benah. What's the B'chloikis if you can cut both Simonim by Chatos or not? So the rule in the next few lines of the Gemara is, everybody agrees to the following rule. Chatos needs to be different than oilo. It has to be different. So if chatos to be different than oilo, if I don't have a difference, then I have a problem. But as long as I have a difference, I have a mechalek, so I'm okay. So he says the Gemara, here's the machlekes. Is mitzui by chatos me'akiv? Do you need to do mitzui or not? You have to do mitzvah. The mitzvah dam is me'akev as the Bach adds here. So the chatos and oil are identical. They both need to have miliko. They both need to have havdalah. They both need to have mitzvah. So how do I differentiate with the oil and chatos? Oh, chatos I cut only one siman, and by oil I cut two simanim. But if I tell you, so Tanakama says, that's why if I do chatos, I cut both simonim, I'm done. Because you're supposed to cut Yeah, you're supposed to make yourself difference. But the mitzui is not me'akiv. Meaning, the way we Rashi answered, once he cut one siman, he's done. There's nothing more to do over here. Now he cuts the next siman, it's chatichas basa be'alma, it's done. So, and that's the difference between chatas and oilo. Oilo requires mitzui, chatas does not require mitzui. So chatas, once I did the cutting of the simanim, I'm done. That's the difference. So I cut two simanim, I didn't add anything. That's why it's okay. Is it a problem to have a break between the first siman and the second siman boil soif? It's not a problem to have a break. Meaning, as we'll see in a moment, by chatos, you have a break between the two simanim. We'll see in a moment why. There a break. By oilo, could you have a break or not? If you hold the by oilo, you have a break. So what's it between oilo and chatos? You have to say that by oilo you call two simanim, by chatos one siman. If you didn't do it, you ruined it. But if I cannot have a break, so here's my difference. Chatos I have a break, and oilo I don't have a break. So I can cut both simanim. That's what it says. Those who shoot sova me'akiv. Me'akiv mean that cutting both simanim is the shia is a problem. If once he did the shia, the second siman didn't do anything. So he mainly by oilo it's done, and by chatos it's different because of chat. Meaning, here's my difference. Chatos, I'm doing a break. Once I did a break, I'm done. I'm not compared to oilo. Oilo, if I do a break, I ruin the whole oilo. My third option. What's the me'akiv? So this, the pshat is, when you're doing a melika by chatas oiv, they cut one siman, and then you have to cut the meat, the flesh, around the neck, and then you cut the second siman, if you want to. And it's only after that. The shaila is that you have to cut the flesh. You have to cut a lot of flesh. If you have to cut a lot of flesh, you have a break between one siman and another siman. If I don't have to cut so much flesh, I don't have such a break. So it says the Gemara, so that's the machlekes. So meaning the Gemara brings three options. What's the machlekes? We both go with the same idea. The reason why, according to Tarakama, if I do havdalah by chatos the problem, because then there's no difference in the chatos and the oilo. The reason why, according to Abloz of Shimon, if I do the havdalah, cut both simanim, is not a problem, because I still have a difference between the chatos and oilo. What will be the difference? Expression number one is, do I have mitzui? Is I required to do mitzui? Question number two is, break, is that a problem? Question number three, do I have even a break? Because maybe it's cutting the meat. Sigma fluk to the Avzer B'Shul B'Avitzchok. It's we have a similar machlekes regarding these options between Avzer B'Shul B'Avitzchok. Chadoma Shehiyo B'Siman Sheni B'Soy Me'akiv. One says that Shehiyo is a problem. That's what he can be. In other words, the break, the second answer. The other one says that this idea of cutting the meat is the what you have, which is the third answer. Let's just say two different views. We have all the two man arguments that said the second and third answer. Says more Michlal, the main roy basor betchilo mashra. At least the chatchilo you should cut basor. The question was me'ak, do you need it or not? Meaning after you cut one siman of the maliko, you need to cut the meat around the neck. Is it something that you need to do or not? At least the chatchilo. So we see this thing in Hartman, you have in the Braiso. How do you call Chatasoif? Choiter Shedro Mafrekis. So the Shedro is the spine. Mafreket is the neck. Below your baso, without cutting the meat. Achemagia leveshet or lekoni. You have to get to one of the simonim. Veshet lekoni, the two simonim of the animal or the bird. Higia leveshet or lekoni. Choiter simon echod or ruboy. Cuts one simon or the roiv. And then he cuts afterwards roy basar, the flesh around it, and that's the hefsek. Vechatos will be a hefsek by that. You don't cut the flesh until you first cut the both simon. So that's the Gemara says we do fine. You have to cut the flesh. Amur kenei Aviyamio. So they came and said this whole discussion in front of Aviyamio that they asked, "What's the pshat? What's the Rabbi Shimon?" Did you hear? Hadom of Shimon Yokim Mishua Blozov and Pras Mishua Blozov and Shamua. What did they say? I heard you cut both simonim chat asoif. Lo yavdil. It says lo yavdil. It says not to cut. So what happened? Some with Aleph ain't soich lehavdil. What is the problem? The Bechatos, the Torah told you not to cut, not to separate. But lo yavdil. The Torah never said not to separate. The Torah says they don't have to separate. The lo yavdil means it's not required. Says the Gemara, Omer le'av achol breidu over le'av ashi. Elo me'ato gabi bor dichtiv v'lo yichasenu. It says by bor, person dug a bor and he didn't cover it. Hachanami didn't tzorch lechasus. You want to tell me he doesn't have to cover it? Person dug a bor and Rosh Hashanah has to cover it. Hachi ashtu. Someone I can't see it. Hosu kivan dichtiv ba'ala bor yishalem. It says you have to pay. So aluyu diram lechasui. That means he has to cover it. It's required, because if not, why does he have to pay? It says there was a hakrova, and there's a difference between chat soif and soif. You know, there's many Gersos in the Rishonim. What exactly is the chiluk between chat soif and soif? Rashi brings you two explanations, and he says the one explanation is that we could have already learned by krivoi the separation, the difference between one simon and two simon. Already could have said it. Lo yavdil amali. Why it says again lo yavdil? Shamina ain't tzorich lavdil. Meaning the pasuk already told me the krivor. There's a chiluk between chatas and oil. What's the chiluk? Chatas said do one simon and oil two simon. So I have to say again lo yavdil. That's one way Rashi explains it. So he says the reason why I have another time for the say lo yavdil to tell you it's not me'akev. It happens usually. Because he calls v'kriva means it's different than chatos. Okay, so or both are referred to oil. That's another Shari Rashi. Tesis has another one in the Shita. So we have different Shitas here. What we see already something. So what do I need it? So according to what the Torah is telling you is that it's not me'akev. So more broad here. According to those of Shimon, I have many ways to explain what is he holding. He says to do Avdollah. What's like if Avdollah? What about the fact that chatos can be different than oil? So comes the Gemara says down there, and I'll tell you why. There's no requirement to not to do Avdollah. Lo yavdil means in tzorich la'avdil, but you could do Avdollah if you want to. Okay, let's just finish. We have two more lines here on the Gemara at the end of the parak. Tana Rabbanan oila bi shemitzo damagu v'lo mitza adam damadam marosh. This says ha'oilo. It says oilo. It tells you oilo. It's good enough, even though you squeeze the blood of the body, not the head. Yechol mitza dam marosh lo mitza dam aguf. Whatever if you squeeze the blood of the head, but not the body. Tomod lemer who needs to be that way? My Talmud, how do you see that? How do you know? The Torah gives you a riboy and a mute. So how do you know which one to choose? Where's most of the blood? In the goof. So the Torah tells you one is required and one is not required. I'm assuming the one is required is the bigger place of the blood. And with this, we end the 6th parak of Zevachim. When do we get out of it?